Things Podcast.
Hello, everyone. I remember David when he was about 2.5 years old, and he had gotten one of those toy play sets where you climb the little stairs in the back and then slide down the slide at the front, and it had a little cubby hole under it where he could hide and play. You know, he was small enough that he could go in there and play all by himself, and he would hide in there and think that we didn't know where he was. But anyway, and then a few other little toys, you know, for a 2.5-year-old. And when we were putting him to bed that night, he was in his crib and we thought he was sound asleep. All of a sudden we hear this noise coming from the bedroom. And so I crept down the hall because I didn't want to go in and wake him up if he wasn't awake. But he was in there jumping up and down on his crib saying, "Toys, toys, toys, toys." So he was so cute. We laughed, and we had to go in and give him a hug and put him back down for the night. But he took a long time to go to sleep that night. It was one of my favorite memories of David. I hope y'all all have a Merry Christmas.
Thanks, Mom. I love you. Okay, so that was my mom, obviously, and we are every week throughout December going to be hearing from my mom. She's going to be sharing, I think, 4 different Christmas memories with me and with you guys, and I don't know what they're going to be. She's calling my voicemail and leaving me these voicemail memories that I will then share with you guys throughout the month because I think it's nice and Christmassy, and it's interesting to find out because I know what my Christmas memories are of my childhood. Like, I know what stands out to me. I've talked about it tons and tons of times the morning that I come downstairs and the Millennium Falcon is there. As a matter of fact, I talk about it in this episode with our pal, our head of research, Ryan Schweck, where we take a look at all of the Star Wars stuff that has been going on since Triple Force Friday, including the toy releases, the Mandalorian, different news about Star Wars. We do a deep dive into the past couple months of Star Wars. Now, I will say we recorded this prior to the 4th episode of The Mandalorian airing, I think, and we don't get too deep into it because I do want to do a full Mandalorian episode. But we do discuss a few things. There are some minor spoilers, but I mean, honestly, I think everybody's watched it at this point. And if you haven't watched it, you don't care enough to get mad about spoilers. So there you go. And actually, tomorrow, the 5th episode of The Mandalorian, or today to you guys, the 5th episode should be airing. Oh, and by the way, hey, Phantomaniacs, welcome to the newest episode of the Needless Things Podcast, where we talk about toys, movies, music, and all manner of pop culture dorkery. I'm your host, Dave, and that was my mom opening the show. Okay, so now that we've got that out of the way, now that you know what today's episode is about, because Star Wars toys, to me, are inextricably linked to Christmas, to the holiday season, and especially, you know, this goes back to my childhood in that Christmas where I got the original Millennium Falcon, but, you know, now with Disney releasing Star Wars movies around Christmas time, which granted it's going to be about 3 years before we see another one, and who knows if it'll come out in December or not, but throughout my life, Star Wars has had a very real link with Christmas. So to me, it's just a natural match, and I'm happy to be opening up our Christmas season on Needless Things with a conversation about Star Wars toys with our head of research, Ryan. So now it's time for a little bit of news. First news I want to talk about is if you guys have been listening or reading needlessthingspodcast.com throughout the years, then you know that I've had some tooth regrets in my life. One of the biggest things I will tell the young people is floss. Take care of your teeth because it will cost you lots of pain and money and agony later in your life. So 2 weeks ago, they sawed off the top half of one of my back teeth, stuck a crown on it, a temporary crown on it, and I go in Wednesday to get the permanent crown put on. This will be, I think, my third crown. 1, 2, 3. Gosh, it's my fourth. It's horrible. It's horrible. But I had about a decade where I did not take the best care of my teeth, and I'm paying for it literally and figuratively now. So they chopped off the half of my tooth, stuck the temporary crown on, and apparently it didn't cover everything it was supposed to cover. So over the course of the next several days, because my root was not sufficiently covered up, ensconced in enamel and crown and whatever else, it wasn't pain, discomfort got worse and worse with every single day until finally it was throbbing. I couldn't sleep, so I had to take a half a day off work. What a treat for me that I got to go to the dentist, have them poke around in my teeth, and then I got to go into work after that because I felt bad because somebody had to come in and cover my shift because at my job, somebody always has to be doing it. There's no like, I'm not going to be in the office today. There's none of that. Somebody has to cover it 24/7. So somebody had to come in and work those 6 hours that I couldn't come in because I had to go to the dentist. And I had to use some of my paid time off to cover that, which doesn't seem fair to me. I feel like the dentist owes me money because they screwed up this temporary crown. And I had to use, look, nothing is more valuable to me than my PTO, my paid time off, because that's my free time. I earn that. And it gives me time to not be working, but also be earning money. And the dentist stole 6 hours of that from me. And I feel like this needs to be addressed, but it's not going to be addressed until I get that permanent crown on. And that guy's not going to be poking around in my sensitive areas anymore. So I went in, they fixed it. It took like an hour and a half of poke, glue, whatever. It's horrible. It's a nightmare. But once they fixed it, it was great, except I had this like nub on my gum on the inside of the tooth. And but there was no pain. It was just this bulbous little spot in my gum. And I went back to work, and everything's fine. I'm not really, no pain, no discomfort. Everything's cool, especially compared to before. But over the course of the last week, I've just had this little bulbous little spot on my gum. So today, and when you've got something in your mouth, you can't help but mess with it with your tongue, right? Like you just can't do anything about it. If you've got a sore, if you've got something between your teeth, like an almond husk or whatever, you just got to get in there and mess around with it until something happens. So that's what I've been doing with this little gum nub. And today, I guess I felt something like hard, right? Like up in the gum nub. And I apologize if I'm grossing anybody out. I'm grossing myself out, and I apologize for that. So I'm poking at it with my tongue, and I feel something hard in the gum nub, and I just keep at it. And finally, at one point when I'm up out of the room, I get this little, I feel an actual like chunk of something come out of this little bulb of gum, and there is a small, it looks like a little piece of gravel that was up under my gum, and I assume it's like cement that they used when they put the temporary crown on. But yeah, it's this little tiny piece of gravel. I mean, not too tiny. I wish I had a size comparison. The size of a gnat, perhaps. Maybe a bit bigger and obviously more dense. But yeah, this little white piece of gravel that's been in my frickin' gum for a week, annoying me, irritating me. But now it's out, and now everything feels great up there, and I kind of don't even want to go back. Can I just live with a temporary crown? Can you do that? But I've already paid for the good crown, so I guess I better just go ahead back in and get it done. So yeah, there's tooth news. In actual news, more of the sort of thing that I like to cover on Needless Things podcast. There is a new box display at Walmart. I found it this morning. I had to stop on the way into work to get some lettuce for my salad because I try to eat more salads, but I'm eating like shit right now. It's the holidays, and I'm giving myself a break that I'm just going to be a big fatty for a little while, and then I'm going to get my shit back under control. It's been a tough year. It's been a tough past couple of months, and eggnog and cheeseburgers make me feel better, damn it. So anyway, I stopped because I do still eat right when I'm at work because it's very easy to do. I got my salad, and then I saw in the back of Walmart one of those big cardboard blocks that has slots for figures and products and whatever else. And there are they're by Funko, and they're Star Wars cereal boxes, but they have T-shirts in them. But they're pretty funny, and I really liked the art on them. And there are, I think it's Vader Crunch, Chewbacca berries, which cracked me up because there's no context in which the term Chewbacca berries means anything that isn't dirty. There were Ewok Krispies, and then there were like one or two others, but the one that got me, the one that drove me crazy, was Greedos, which I just loved. Greedos, right? It works. I liked the art. I like Greedo, and he's such a weird character to have incorporated with these big popular characters. So I grabbed both boxes of Greedos that they had because the shirt sizes, there was extra large and large, and I sometimes I can get into an extra large. It just depends on how long it is, how it's been made. And then large, my son can wear larges. Sometimes they're a little big, but he'll grow into them. So I grabbed both boxes of Greedos because, one, I love Greedos, the concept and the art. Two, this is the chase variant of the set. So, like, you can get, all the other ones were plentiful. They had a couple of every size. The only XX they had was in the Chewbacca berries, and of course I bought that. But, yeah, Greedos is the chase variant for some reason. So now, tomorrow morning, Mrs. Troublemaker goes out to the grocery store, does all the grocery shopping, and I told her, when you go to Walmart, you got to look for a XXL Greedos, because I need it. And we took the shirts out. They're nice shirts. The print's great. I mean, if you've gotten a Funko shirt before, you know that their shirts are pretty nice. These are that soft material. The XX that I got is very long and has a good fit to it. The printing is nice. They're $15, which, you know, I'm just happy to have the boxes. I'm going to figure out something to do with the boxes on one of my Star Wars shelves, and they'll look cool. So anyway, there's a little bit of news about Star Wars and Walmart, which, look, I hate putting over anything that's at Walmart, but this is what I do for you, the Phantomaniacs, because I know you want your Star Wars cereal shirts. They also had some new plush on that display, and then some lunch boxes that I didn't care for because, all right, look, I'm a little tired of this trend of calling things that are not lunchboxes lunchboxes. These little 10 totes that aren't the right size to be a lunchbox. And then these things that if you see them, take a look at them, they're called lunchboxes, but they're metal, but then you turn them over and the back is just silver. Like metal lunchboxes, when I was a kid in the early 80s, had designs on both sides. Like it was an all-over thing. It was a nice presentation where you turned it either way and look at that. Oh, it's Indiana Jones. I actually had a Temple of Doom lunchbox, and I frickin' wish I still had it. And if I ever found one, I would totally buy it. Not from eBay, because I feel like that's kind of cheating. But if I ever come across one in the wild, I'm on it. But yeah, it would be like the movie poster on one side, and then on the back it would be like either an amalgamation of scenes or like just the mine car. It would be something different. A lot of artistry went into metal lunchboxes when I was a kid, and this thing is not a proper lunchbox. It's also not the right size. It's like too big or something, and it's got a bunch of junk in it. But loot junk whatever. I've been talking about loot junk for the past few weeks with the Ninja Turtles thing from NECA. But there you go. There's that. The other thing I want to mention is Targets look like they are finally being redone. I don't know about you guys, but my local Targets have not had a whole lot of new stock aside from the Star Wars stuff in a very long time. But I stopped by the main Target I go to, which is on the way home from work. It's about the halfway point, so I usually have to stop and pee when I'm in the afternoon traffic, which is more information than you needed. But there you go. That's my little excuse to go and look for toys. But I went in that Target and everything was like stocked. Like they had the whole collector section, which if you go in Target, you know that their NECA collector section back where the videos are just looks like garbage all the time. There's never anything new. Nobody maintains it. It looks terrible. This whole section had been redone and fully stocked. They had stuff as old as the Ultimate Ash figure from Ash vs. Evil Dead. They had all the Freddys, all the Jasons, like everything, you guys. So if there are any NECA figures, they had the Chucky, the Ultimate Chucky, which is one of the best figures that came out last year. If it came out last year and not the year before. But anyway, if there are any of those NECAs that you're missing, now is the time to go and check your local Target because they have just put out tons of stuff. I'm excited. I'm actually going out to do a little more Christmas shopping tomorrow, and I'm excited to hit a couple of the Targets and see what all is out. But they had some of the regular toys had been replenished as well. Lots of new Fortnite stuff, which... Look, I know Fortnite, what are you talking about? Go back and listen to the Needless Things minicast where I reviewed one of the Fortnite figures. They're freaking amazing. Unless you specifically hate Fortnite, you need to grab at least one of these. Like, go to where the Fortnite figures are, not the Jazzwares ones, not the McFarlane ones, although those are nice too. Go find the Jazzwares Fortnite figures. Flip through them. Find a character that you like. There's a tomato guy. There's a Nutcracker, which is a Walmart exclusive. There's a fish guy. Like, find one that you're like, you know what, that's neat looking. There's a purple skeleton. And just grab it. Just grab it. Because they're noteworthy action figures that you will be happy to have on your shelf. And if you take it out, put it on your desk like I do, you're going to play with it for a long time. There's tons of accessories. Anyway, so there you go on that. Check out your local Target. And finally, the last two things I want to talk about are the trailers for Black Widow and Mulan. I'll talk about Mulan first. I don't really have any emotional attachment to the original animated Mulan. I like it. It's really good. But it's not, 1998. So I was 22 when that thing came out. I was not in the Disney magic age, really, of my life. But I dug it. It was cool. It was a cool movie. But this trailer looks like it's taking the concepts of that animated Mulan and making it almost a Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon type of thing. Like there's a scene where the enemy army is approaching the fortress and they just start running up the wall. There's a source that it looks like they're going to, like all of the more fantastical elements of the animated one will be here. There's a scene where the sorceress turns into like a bird and flies off. There's a phoenix. We don't see Mushu in the trailer, but I think Mushu is supposed to be in the movie. But it looks really, really cool. Like after seeing that trailer, I am now stoked to see this movie. And then Black Widow, look, it's Marvel. It's badass. We'll be there opening day. I'm really stoked about David Harbour. I felt so bad for that guy being in that Hellboy movie. And granted, I haven't seen it. I might end up really, really liking this movie, but I have not heard anything good about it. So I want to see David Harbour in more stuff that's going to do well. And Black Widow is a Marvel Cinematic Universe film, so it is going to do well. But you also, in addition to David Harbour, and of course Scarlett Johansson, whom I'm a huge fan of Scarlett Johansson. I think people... maybe some people don't get her. Maybe some people just don't like her, and that's fine. I really like her understated humor. She's very acerbic and dry, and I think sometimes that comes off as not emoting. But I am a big, big fan of her as an actress. And then Florence Pugh, Florence Pugh, I don't know how it's pronounced, and I apologize for that. I didn't love Midsommar, but she was amazing in Midsommar. I'm anxious to see her doing something else. I don't know that I buy all the theories about her replacing Scarlett Johansson. I'm not saying I think Scarlett Johansson is going to continue to be Natasha in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I don't know that I necessarily buy that Florence Pugh, whatever, is going to just step into, not take her place, but be a new ongoing character. I don't know that I buy that. O.T. Fagbenley, who I'm not familiar with, and then Rachel Weisz, who's incredible from the Mummy movies, and lots and lots of other stuff. But man, I love those Mummy movies. I'm a big fan. So yeah, this is Black Widow is coming out May 1st. Mulan is coming out March 27th. Already 2 movies I'm really excited about, and 2 female-led movies that are don't feel forced, I guess. They feel, I don't want to say earned, because that makes it seem like females have to earn a lead role, which I think is nonsense. There have been female-led movies ever since I was a little kid that have been tremendous, that are just, they just are movies that happen to star females. Like, it's not like, oh, look at this female event like Ghostbusters, which, by the way, I liked that Ghostbusters. Okay? I like that movie. No, it doesn't live up to the first one, but it's a fun movie with a great cast. But then they turned it into this whole statement, and I think that bogged it down a little bit. These don't feel like statements. These feel like movies that happen to have women in the lead roles that are just going to be good movies, and I hope they are. So that I have gone way long on this intro, but I had a lot to talk about, you guys. I had to get some sympathy for my tooth. So if you feel bad for me about my tooth, even though it's my own darn fault that it happened, just say, Phantom, sorry about your tooth. Shoot me a little message, make a little comment. Rate the podcast. I never ask you guys to do that. Go to iTunes and give it a rating, or go to Stitcher, Podbean, I don't know, wherever. Although, here's something I learned. Podbean, I cannot reply to comments on my PC. I have to go into the Podbean app on my phone to reply to comments, and I never remember to do that because I'm not doing needless things stuff on Podbean when I'm on my phone. I'm listening to other people's podcasts, like the excellent Seeking Human Victims, or the Double-Edged Double Bill, which I've recently become a fan of. I'm listening to other people's podcasts. I'm not doing my own podcast stuff on my phone. Because what am I doing? Recording, sitting here with my phone in my hand going, all right, Phantomaniacs, my phone is in my hand. I've done that before. I'm not going to lie. But anyway, that is more than enough rambling from me. I hope everybody is getting into the Christmas spirit. And I hope that this conversation about Star Wars toys and a little bit about their relation to Christmas helps everyone feel jolly, happy, and ready to Christmas party. And ready for Rise of Skywalker, which comes out December 18th, 19th. I think 19th is the Thursday that we're going to see it. The official release date's probably the 20th, but I mean, I think we all know now everything comes out on Thursday. So there you go. Sit back, relax, and enjoy me and Schweck talking Star Wars toys. All right, so it's December, and as we all know, December is a magical month of Star Wars now, because that's what we've decided. And to talk about magical Star Wars Christmas things, our head of research, Ryan Schweck. What's happening, man?
Good to be here. Happy Life Day.
Yeah, happy Life Day. We missed Life Day by a little bit, and actually I owe you a big apology because I kept putting this episode off just because stuff kept happening. but I think it's kind of worked out because there have been a couple more things that have dropped and that we've seen, and we've got a little bit more to talk about now that this is like a month later than I originally planned.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
So this has worked out pretty well, and Star Wars toys for both of our lives have been a part of Christmas.
Oh, big time. I still vividly remember getting the Ewok Village playset. Like, that's one of my big childhood memories, is coming out and that thing was completely put together under the tree.
See, that's really similar to one that I've got that I've talked about before. I remember we were staying in North Carolina at my grandparents' house and going out on Christmas morning, and the Millennium Falcon, a twin-pod cloud car, and Slave One were, like, arranged under the tree with a bunch of figures, like it looked like the front of one of the boxes.
Nice.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I have since the last time I talked about it, I have gotten all of the old photo albums from my parents, so I've actually got pictures of this now that I'll be posting throughout the month.
Oh, I may have to find, because I know my mom has the picture. I've seen it, of me with the Ewok playset.
Nice.
I may have to find it. We can put it up, too.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So what I want to talk about on this episode, and the one that we've been sort of trying to get done for a while now, Triple Force Friday happened. It was the big merchandise launch that was the tie-ins for Rise of Skywalker, Jedi Fallen Order, and The Mandalorian. And I've got to say, all in all, now obviously we have not seen Rise of Skywalker yet, but we will be reviewing that at some point after it comes out. We'll see if it ends up being live or recorded, and we'll do our best to get you on that one, Ryan. But we can definitely talk about all of the toys that were released at that launch that at the time maybe didn't seem all that exciting, but now, like, it's because that was October 4th.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's almost 2 months later, and I've got to say, I feel a little more engaged with all of that stuff now than I did when it first hit.
Oh, absolutely, especially The Mandalorian and Fallen Order. Is it Fallen Order or Fallen Jedi?
It's Star Wars Jedi, Fallen Order.
And just to preface it, I played the game until 3 a.m. this morning to finish it. So,
oh my gosh.
I'm not going to allow sleep. Yeah, but like, I definitely am more excited about those, and I'm like going back to get them now because I had skipped, what's his name?
Cal.
Cal, yeah. I skipped Cal that day because I was like, whatever. Now I got
the second sister.
The second sister just because I like the Inquisitors from Rebels and Clone Wars and all that mess, or Rebels. But yeah, I'm definitely more excited about them now.
Yeah, it seems like, well, one, there's more context, and two, since that initial release, and we'll talk about what the launch day stuff was, more product has trickled out that has made it kind of more exciting as a product line because we've got a little more, some of the blanks have been filled in, we've got more figures, we've got more characters to be interested in, and like you said, you played Fallen Order. My son, I haven't touched it yet, but my son's played it, and like within an hour or two, he was like, I have to have a Cal Kestis figure.
Yeah, I totally had to go buy one because I was like, and somehow I play that game not realizing who it was.
Oh, really?
Like, well, when I got it, I was like, 10 or so minutes into it at least. And I was like, wait a second, that's the damn Joker.
It is the greatest Joker ever.
But I love, the figure's great. It comes with the droid. Like, they did a good job without going into spoilers from the game, avoiding spoilers and the toy, because they could have done something that would have gave a lot away.
Okay.
And they didn't, which was a good choice.
Well, they did the same thing with the Mandalorian figure. And for the listeners, if you're not caught up on the Mandalorian, technically by this point neither are we because we're only up through the third episode, and by the time this episode airs, I think 2 more episodes will have come out.
Yeah.
But the Mandalorian figure was obsolete by the end of the first episode.
Well,
because he got his shoulder plate.
Right. And now I got the carbonized version.
So did I.
So he's a little shiny, but
it's still the same like mismatched armor. It just has that metallic finish.
Right. I'm assuming they already have a full Beskar armor variant or something planned.
Dude, they better have a deluxe set with the Beskar armor and Baby Yoda in that little pod, lined up and ready to go.
So, all right. So while we're on that, we'll probably talk about Mandalorian. So for our nomenclature for the podcast, do we want to call him Baby Yoda? Or I was talking to Chad the other day, and Chad refers to it only as the child, which I guess is what they say on the show.
I mean, that's
But I kind of
fine.
caught myself, and I was like, all right, maybe we should call it the child instead of just Baby Yoda.
I mean, sure, but Baby Yoda just has more connotation. I mean, we don't know what it is. We don't know what Yoda's species is called. And yes, within the context of the show, it would be the child. Or up until the third episode, in the eyes of the Mandalorian, it would be the enemy. But now, let me ask you a question. And I guess we'll just jump around a lot. We'll go from toys to a little bit about the Mandalorian to whatever. But in episode 3, when the Mandalorian is explaining what has happened thus far to the armorer, and he says, I was helped by an enemy. Now, do you think he's calling it an enemy because it used the Force and because the Mandalorian hate Jedi, or is he calling it the enemy because the Mandalorian look at anybody who's not a Mandalorian as an enemy?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not either. And I could go either. Either one could make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Well, and then something caught my ear, too, during Fallen Order, because they talk about Dathomir, and they blame everything on the Jedi, too. And so I'm kind of wondering, when we see the Siege of Mandalore on Clone Wars, if it's not going to be a little different than we thought it was. And so maybe they blame the Jedi for parts of it.
Well, and that's
just Force users in general.
That's something that could potentially be a holdover from Karen Travis's Republic Commando books that turned into Mandalorian books. The Mandalorian's age-old hatred of the Jedi.
Yeah. Well, and there's the scene too where Baby Yoda goes to heal him, and he's real quick to be like,
Yeah.
Don't touch me, puts him away, and so I'm thinking they're not too keen on Force users these days.
And that's one of the great things about the show is it's leaving so many questions, but it's not frustrating in the way that something like Lost is. We're getting just enough to be satisfied every episode, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. And they're doing some stuff where, if you know about why the Empire has Beskar and all that stuff,
right.
It's cool, but you don't have to know that stuff.
Yeah, I actually had to refresh myself because, it's been a while since I watched Rebels, and I didn't totally remember the whole thing about Sabine and everything that happened there, so I had to go back and sort of brush up on that and the whole superheating the Beskar, which is brutal and horrible.
Well, they seem to be keeping up with where you get your signal, and the clans are still kind of, seem to be the setup Rebels had. So,
well, I mean, it's Filoni. Filoni is heavily invested in this show, so I feel that of course it's going to have that continuity with it.
Yeah.
So let's before we get too deep into the Mandalorian, which we won't get too terribly deep into it anyway. Let's talk about these toys, and let's talk about what was available on launch day and what was interesting and what wasn't. And we had Black Series, and we're not going to be talking about all of the merchandise like Funko Pops and stuff like that. We're going to be focusing on Hasbro's product, which is Black Series and Vintage Collection. More so on Black Series because now I have to admit that I am collecting those. I'm not a completist. I did not buy Rey and Supreme Leader Kylo Ren.
Oh yeah, I didn't buy those either.
But I'm buying the figures that I want to buy because and this is something that's infuriating to me. As I never stopped collecting the 3 3/4 inch figures, so that's the massive part of my collection is this huge area on the wall that's all the figures from the past. Probably about 12 years. I think 2007 was when they really started with the super articulated stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what I've got. So now what we get is some characters come in the vintage collection, some characters come in Black Series, and it's really frustrating. But now with the new digital face printing that's on the Black Series figures, quality-wise, the vintage collection figures really can't even compare. As a matter of fact, I was super stoked about, have you seen the vintage collection set? It's a Target exclusive that comes with Luke, Yoda, the backpack, and it's a Darth Vader figure, but it has a removable faceplate with Luke's face underneath it.
Oh, that's nice. I have not seen that yet.
Dude, I was so stoked for this. Found it in the store. The Luke, and it's the Dagobah Luke with his tank top on.
Uh-huh.
And he's got double jointed elbows, which is great because it means he can hold the backpack like he does. But his face looks like shit. And it's $39.99.
Wow.
It's crazy.
There's something about Luke that even with the face printing just comes off weird every time. Like even the new, I got that was the Jedi Knight Luke the other day.
Oh, I haven't seen that one yet.
Him and the Skywalker, the comic book basically version of it. There's just something weird about how they do the bags under the eyes with Luke that makes him look kind of like a meth head.
Okay, well here, since you brought it up, I got the Yavin Luke because I found it at GameStop a few weeks ago, and it's because, like you said, it's that comic book look that he's had for the current run of the Marvel Comics. I just really wanted the figure. But they also did the Skywalker Strikes, fan channel exclusive.
Yeah.
That comes with a lightsaber, in addition to the blaster that the regular one comes with. It comes with a lightsaber, the helmet with the blast shield, the training droid, and then a couple of Jedi books or something.
Yeah, and a fancy box.
And and that's what I want to talk. Well, first I want to talk about the difference in deco because I just bought the Skywalker Strike set at GameStop because they have their if you buy one of their bags.
I was in the store today pricing how much it would cost me with the bag to put the Strike set in it.
Well, I got the bag, and the bag is huge. It's much larger, and this is no good to our listeners because this will have been 2 weeks ago, but they'll probably do this promotion again before Christmas. The bag that they have right now is a large canvas sack. It's not those little tote bags that they normally have, so you can get a lot of shit in there. But the deco is actually a little different between this one, because I'm looking at them right now. And the face on the Skywalker Strikes is actually a little better. His eyes don't look as sunken and baggy.
Yep.
And his hair looks a little better to me. It's a little, it's not really lighter. It just has less wash on it, I think. Mm-hmm. But the reason I got it, because I'll give the older one I got, the older one, it just came out a couple weeks ago. I'll give the other one to Phantom Jr., and hang on to this one. I had to have the lightsaber.
Yeah, I don't understand why they didn't put the lightsaber in the other one.
They want your dumbass to buy this one like I did.
Yeah.
But what's really cool about this, it comes in this really nice opening. It's an opening box. It's not like some of the other exclusives they've done that it's just a big giant Black Series box. Like this is actually a really cool, it's like a book. And it's got the cover of the first comic on the front of it. So it's very clearly, this one is meant to be that comic book look. But what's cool about this is Hasbro released a big press release a few weeks ago stating that by 2022 they intended to remove as much plastic as possible from all of their toy packaging. And, you know, I'm not a big environmental guy, but I am pretty big on eliminating single-use plastics because I feel like that's something we should be on top of.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And this figure, while it does have, I don't think these are even plastic trays. I think this is some other kind of recyclable material. It has no windows on it. Like, you can actually reach in and just touch the figure and the accessories and everything. So this is, to me, kind of the first step towards getting rid of those plastic blisters and the plastic windows and stuff. And I don't know how they'll do it in the future, but it's interesting to me to see this now, this progress of yes, let's try and eliminate something that really isn't necessary.
Uh-huh. The only thing I wonder on that is, like, at normal retail, I think it'll be difficult not to have the window so you can see the figure. But maybe they'll put a picture on the front. I don't know, a little black box with the window.
Yeah, I don't know how exactly they'll do it because, I mean, this is open. So if this thing was at Walmart, everything in here would be gone.
Oh, yeah.
It would all just be stolen. So, I don't know. They're trying to figure it out, and I give them credit for that.
Yeah.
So it's the Skywalker Strikes box set. It includes the Yavin Luke. It does not include the metal that comes with the regular Black Series figure, but it has all those extra parts that are sort of specifically reminiscent of stuff from the comic book. And it's a cool set. You can get it from GameStop or you can order it from Hasbro Pulse, and it's one of the fan channel exclusives. But let's go back and talk about that launch day stuff and what was cool to us. Was there one specific thing that you were like, I have to have that?
Oh, the Mandalorian.
Yeah, that was me too.
That is what I was hunting. And when I got to Target, our Target opened at 9.
And I was totally wrong. I have not yet found a carbonized Mandalorian. I just really want one.
So I got to our Target at 8:30, 8:45. And I was not able to get the carbonized Mandalorian that day. Luckily, Hoffman, who is our good friend, had pre-ordered one online and then was at the store and found me one. So he got mine.
Nice.
I was able to get one regular Mandalorian, but past that, I've never seen him again.
Well, and that's the crazy thing. I've never seen a carbonized Mandalorian, and I've only seen 2 regular Mandalorians, and that's the one that I bought, and then at GameStop, because I had to work that day, so I didn't even get to go out and look for anything until after 5 o'clock, and I feel like I got really lucky because I hit up 2 different Targets, and I managed to get a Mandalorian and a Sith Trooper, just because I saw that Sith Trooper and I was like, man, that thing looks really cool. And I had already ordered, because I think we've got a group text just kind of about Star Wars and Marvel Legends, and one of us had put up the link to the carbonized Sith Trooper that was an Amazon exclusive.
Uh-huh.
And I went ahead and ordered it because I was just like, you know what? It's cool. It's in stock. Let me go ahead and get it. If I don't like it, I'm sure I can unload it easily. But it's metallic. It looks cool. Let me check it out. And I'm glad I ordered it because it does look awesome.
Yeah, the carbonized stuff, I mean, it was an interesting idea. So there were, 5 of them?
I think it was 4, wasn't it? Because it was Target, Walmart, Amazon, and GameStop. Right?
So let's see. GameStop had the Second Sister.
Right.
Amazon had the Sith Trooper.
Right.
Target had
the Mandalorian.
Walmart had the Jump Trooper.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's just 4.
And to date, the only one I have not seen is the Mandalorian because I got, on the way home, I stopped at GameStop and got the Second Sister carbonized just because I was like, this looks cool. I dig it.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna grab that one because it's here, and I've seen that one many times since then.
Uh-huh.
And then just the other day, I finally saw the carbonized Jet Trooper at Walmart, And I hadn't really planned to get that one because just online it didn't look like that exciting a figure. But in person, that sort of pearlescent white looks really... Have you got that one?
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it looks really cool in person. And also, I 100% plan to get that Mandalorian. I feel like it's bound to start showing up at some point. There's no way the very, very few that I've heard of people seeing are it.
I don't know.
Well, when you compare the quantities of the second sister, and I just feel like they're more on the way.
I mean, the Target I talked to, they said each store got around 2 of them.
Right.
Which is crazy. But, I mean, the package says, doesn't it say, first day exclusive? Or I can't remember what it says because I threw it in the trash.
Well, no. That's different because the first day exclusive are those white box ones.
Oh, you're right. Those were the white boxes.
Which
also, I threw those in the trash, too.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Those are still showing up now. And the other day, because right now Target, and again, listeners, I apologize, this is out of date, so who knows what the prices are now, but Target currently has a sale. All the Black Series stuff is $14.99.
Oh, is it? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I went ahead and bought that Off-World Jawa, because I certainly wasn't going to pay $20 for this guy. But he's great. He's such a great little figure, and but I got the white box one just because they had it there. And I don't think I've been to a Target since October 4th without seeing at least one white box figure.
Huh. See, I haven't seen them at all since that day.
Really? Oh, they keep showing up here. And I'm talking about later shipments keep showing up. They won't have them for a couple of days and then they have them again. At no point have I seen a Target that just never got any more.
Huh. Yeah, the Targets down here, I have not seen a white box since that first day. Interesting.
Yeah, matter of fact, the Target I stop at on the way home from work, I stopped there tonight, and they had a couple of Rays, a couple of Jawas, and a couple of Kylo Rens. Which, granted, that's all you see. Because those are the figures that are left.
I get why they chose, you've got to put a Rey out, you've got to put a Kylo out.
Yeah.
But, for your normal collector, at least if you're not a completionist, the only difference between that Kylo is, he's got the red on him.
Well, here's what I wonder, though. Because Hasbro, over the last several years, they make little improvements over figures that you may not notice. The elbows from one stormtrooper to clone trooper to whatever, you may have a little deeper elbow bend. You may get a better hip joint. You may get, they make small improvements from figure to figure. So I wonder if this Kylo Ren, sure, if you've already got a Kylo Ren, it's a little too similar to bother with. But I wonder if overall it's actually a better figure.
Yeah, it probably is. I haven't bought a Kylo Ren since I got that San Diego exclusive however many years ago. That was Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Set. I'm just not. Same with Rey.
I'm
just not going to buy it. Now, the problem with the Rey is, not the problem, but she comes with
the droid.
whatever.
D0, I think.
Yeah, something like DO, I think they call it.
Yeah.
So, I might later see the movie and decide I love D0 and need to get the figure.
But you'll probably be able to get her for $5.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming.
Yeah, I'll tell you where I got sucked in a little bit with some of these Black Series figures were those Target exclusive ones that came with the little diorama bases. Because I ended up getting the Kylo Ren that came with the Snoke's throne room floor.
Mm-hmm.
That's the clear plastic pieces that look really, really cool. And then I got the Snoke with the throne because it was on clearance at GameStop. So I've actually got Snoke's throne in that floor, and even though, at this point, nobody really gives a shit about Snoke, but that's a really cool-looking little corner of my shelf to have that throne sitting on that floor.
Uh-huh.
Like, it looks cool. So that's the Kylo Ren I've got. And he's great. He came with the helmet and, well, actually, he came with the unmasked head, and then the helmet is actually die-cast, which is kind of wild.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And his lightsaber hilt is also die-cast.
Huh.
Yeah, there were little die-cast parts, like the Rey. Let's see, what was it? Rey with crate, and I think her blaster is die-cast, and then Luke came with a piece of the island, and his hand is die-cast.
Oh, nice.
So it's just like one little piece. So it's a neat little thing, and again, these all got marked down to nothing.
Yeah, that's the thing with those two, is they get marked down so much, and then I'm always like, oh, do I risk it or just wait?
Well, and that's the thing, you never know. Like, you and I both were like, Mandalorian's a priority. We've got to have that figure. But for all we know, 3 months from now, they're going to ship a case that's half Mandalorians.
Right.
But, you don't know. You don't know how it's going to fall. So our Wave 1 of Black Series that were available that first day were the Mandalorian, the Sith Trooper, the Second Sister, the First Order Trooper, the Jawa, Rey and Dio, Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, and Cal Kestis. Actually, you know what? I don't think the First Order Trooper was part of that, was it? 1, 2, 3, 4,
I don't think he was.
5, 6, 7. No, I guess he was, because that's 8 figures.
Was he? I can't remember if he was there. Yeah, he was there.
Yeah.
Right. That's he was there, but
okay.
I skipped him. I didn't care.
No, because we've got plenty of troopers. It's fine. But the only one out of that I absolutely had to have that first day was the Mandalorian, but I ended up getting a Sith Trooper and the Second Sister just because they looked cool and I wanted to have them.
Yeah.
As far as the vintage collection goes, that's been kind of all over the place. The only place that you really could just pick them all up easily was Best Buy, which Best Buy has become quite the little Star Wars place.
Yeah, where did they come from?
Well, they introduced toys back into their stores about 2 years ago. One of the first big things that I noticed from them was they carried Kid Robot's horror Mad Balls, the ones that were like Freddy and Jason and all. And those were Best Buy exclusives initially. Later on, other retailers would carry them, but that was kind of Best Buy's first real dip into the collector market, into the same kind of thing that Walgreens has been doing with getting their exclusives. And now Best Buy is deep in the exclusive game with they carried the IG-11 figure, exclusive to them. The AT-ST from The Mandalorian, which we haven't even seen yet on the show, or at least as of this recording we haven't. But that's vintage collection.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the Heavy Infantry Mandalorian that we all just pre-ordered.
Oh. Yeah, I was like, wait, is there one I don't know about? And then I realized it will be here in 2 days.
Right. It's crazy because it's, and I'll tell you this right now, this is not just Star Wars related. As far as like Blu-rays and stuff go, lately I have taken to pre-ordering from Best Buy rather than Amazon, and I've been getting stuff a couple days before the release date.
That's awesome. Well, what's crazy about that Heavy Gunner is, I mean, the episode aired, the next morning they announced the figure.
Right.
And then basically like, and it's shipping today. And so,
well, and that's, I almost wonder if Hasbro has, or maybe Lucas, because Lucasfilm are the ones that put the restrictions on Hasbro and what they can show and what they can sell.
So, have you read the story? It's Favreau. So part of the deal with The Mandalorian,
lay it all.
Yeah, it was Favreau. Favreau was like, look, I don't want anything to come out. And he approved the initial Mandalorian figure, Cara Dune, and IG-11, because those are in the preview. And he was like, that is fine. But that's why there's no Baby Yoda merch. there's no other Mandos or anything, but apparently it's all designed. Like, they have it all, and a bunch of it is actually in production. But Favreau, like, fought them on it and was like, do not let any of this get out. Which I think has worked really well for them, especially with Baby Yoda. Like, I can't imagine the number of views on that show they've gotten just from people sharing that Baby Yoda picture. Whereas if you'd like had merch from it, you'd seen stuff for a while, you probably wouldn't have that same excitement.
Well, and that's the smart thing about this versus the past few years of movies and media is they throw all of these characters out and we don't know who they are yet. So there, a part of me is like, oh, that looks pretty cool, I want it. And another part of me is like, oh, remember Constable Zuvio?
Well, and so I haven't bought, what's her name? The Jaina, is that how you say her name?
Oh wait, I've actually got it written down here.
Jana? J-A and then H. Jaina. So I haven't bought
Jaina's
that
a different character.
Yeah. I haven't bought that one yet. Like,
No,
I keep looking at it, and I'm like, man, this could be, like, somebody really important and really cool, or it could be the Constable. And so, like, I've held off on that one because of it.
It's a great-looking figure, but, yeah, that's exactly why I haven't bought her yet, even though today, again, I saw her for $15 at Target, but I was just like, I don't know anything about this character. I don't know if she's in the movie for 5 minutes. I don't know if she plays an important role. I don't know if I even care about her. For all I know, she's going to get killed just as quickly as what's her name from Westworld got killed in Solo.
Oh, right.
Which she was a great character, but damn, I mean, did I really need to buy that figure?
Yep.
So yeah, it's definitely something where, as longtime fans, I think we would like to see more classic stuff. I'll tell you right now, man, I'm excited by these prequel figures that are coming out.
Yeah, I am too. Like, the new Obi-Wan looks really good. That Anakin's getting an update, which is good because that initial Black Series Anakin figure is
terrible.
Awful. And it's one I rarely update my Black figures, but I will probably get the new one of that one.
Well, and that's another part of what's drawn me into that is, now these likenesses are so incredible. I'm actually sitting here looking at the Hoth Leia because the Hoth Leia is pretty much the closest to matching what's in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
And the face on this thing is amazing.
Yeah, versus the Slave Leia, which is
Is it
awful.
terrible?
Oh, it's so bad. But the problem with the Slave Leia is they'll never make that figure again.
Right, exactly.
And so you're kind of stuck with it. But the face on that one and the initial Princess White outfit one is not very good.
I got the 40th anniversary one, and that one's okay.
They updated her.
Yeah,
a little bit
it's better. I'm okay with it. I'm not ashamed to have it on my shelf. But going back to those vintage collection figures, a completely different assortment. We got a Sith Jet Trooper, another Pilot Luke, another Pilot Poe, which makes a dozen 3 3/4 inch Pilot Poe figures we've gotten. And then Rise of Skywalker Rey, but this one does not include D0 or DO, whatever. Dio. Ronnie James Droido.
I really think it is Dio. And if it's not, I'm calling it Dio now.
Yeah, well, now it's definitely Dio.
Yeah.
Because it's a rainbow in the dark. A Knight of Ren and Zori Bliss, which is Felicity's character that we know nothing about yet. But looks really, really cool. So I was like, I found those, actually, you know what? I found those at Target.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Yeah, that Zori Bliss, I've already pre-ordered her in the Black Series just because it's cool looking.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is with Star Wars, when you get a cool alien or a cool, masked character, that's a lot more exciting than, oh, look, it's a human in culottes.
Yeah.
So I found all those figures, and despite the fact that I hate splitting my collection between the 3 3/4 inch and the 6 inch, I just can't quit 3 3/4 inch, especially with the one item I was most excited for on Triple Force Friday, and that is Poe's X-Wing.
It's not those gold figures?
Oh my gosh. Oh, so there's the Walmart that's closest to us. There's a guy that works there that's there like all the time, and he kind of knows us just because we go in there to look for toys or whatever. And I felt so bad because the other day I went in there and he was like, "Man, we got in the some Star Wars figures, man. They're all gold. They look awesome, but you missed them, man. I'm sorry, man. They're gone." And I was like, "Oh, well, maybe next time."
God, I tell you, those gold figures. So about a week before Force Friday, it's Walmart. They're always messing up. So I'm like stalking the toy aisles, like looking up top to see the box.
Yeah.
And so I walk on and I'm like, oh, it's like a ray of sunshine from the top where it's like, do not put on the shelf until November, whatever the name was. I was like, oh, I found Star Wars toys early. This is going to be the best. And I pulled the box down and opened it up, and it's those damn gold figures. It was like the highest of highs and the lowest of lows.
Well, and that was the weird thing, because another portion, which, by the way, I'm going to have an unboxing and review up of Poe Dameron's X-Wing. Me and Phantom Jr. sat down and opened that thing up and put it together. And for the purposes of this episode, I'll say it's phenomenal. It's one of the best Star Wars toys I've ever owned. But just stay tuned for that. That's going to be an episode of the minicast, and we're actually going to have unboxings through the whole month of December of different vintage collection stuff that's come out recently.
Nice.
But yeah, it's a great, great toy, and it explains why they released another Pilot Poe figure.
Oh yeah,
because you need him to go in there.
Like to know where that X-Wing came from? It's in Resistance Reborn.
Really? Okay, so tell me about Resistance Reborn.
So, if you haven't, Resistance Reborn is the, I guess, prequel novel to Rise of Skywalker. But what it really is, and what is amazing, is this book ties together almost all the new canon Disney Star Wars books. It is unbelievable. And me and Chad were talking about it. It is one of the most satisfying books I've ever read because, you've read, I don't know how many books at this point. Lots of them. And so many pieces from all those novels tie together in this one book about how they, basically it picks up right when Last Jedi ends. It does a really good job of explaining why nobody came to help, and goes through kind of how they kind of build the Resistance back up by bringing in all these characters and all these situations from every book they've done since then. It's amazing. I've talked to people who have read it that have not read all the other novels, and they really liked it too. But I think if you know all that stuff, it just makes it so much better. It does make me think, however, that when Rise of Skywalker comes out, they're going to skip a whole lot.
Well, that's the impression that I got, because I read, it wasn't a recap, it was kind of a spoiler-free review of that, and it seems to me like that book is a lot of fan service.
Oh, it's tons. It's so good.
And the reason it's done that way is because we're not going to get any of those characters doing any of that stuff in Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. And that's kind of been a question people had. Like, as you're reading these books, like, where are these people going to be? Where are they? Are they going to come back? And the kind of Resistance Reborn answers all that, but still gives them, like, a really important part to the story overall.
But it's completely off screen.
It really is completely off screen. But if you want to know where the Resistance got all their ships and everything, you can read all about it.
Well, that's cool.
And it also does, I think it shows you how tight the Disney story group really has been. Especially if you read Aftermath, Bloodlines, Resistance Reborn, Lost Stars. What's the other big one that ties in? I can't remember the other one that ties in really big. But if you read all these books, there's a pretty clear line you can pull with all of them, exactly where Rise of Skywalker's going. And I know they have said, Rian Johnson showed up and just wrote whatever, and now JJ's going to come back, and they said you can just do whatever. The books do make it clear that is not the case. There is a very clear certain points are going to be hit. And I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it's kind of interesting to know, all the pieces of the prophecy and, all of this stuff that's leading towards it. And honestly, it made me more excited about Rise of Skywalker. This may come as a shocker to the listeners. I do not care for The Last Jedi.
Me either.
But I'm excited again for Rise of Skywalker because I see where things are going and kind of the pieces they've put in. And reading the books has helped. One of our big jokes we talk about is the books are constantly making the prequels better than they are. And I think it's doing this for the new movies too.
Yeah, I've got to say, as time has passed, I hate The Last Jedi more and more, and in retrospect, it makes me like The Force Awakens less, because I feel like the things that were set up there were not paid off, so it's now a lesser movie, especially in comparison with things like Rogue One, Solo, and The Mandalorian, all of which I really, really like.
Well, The Mandalorian has really done that for me. And there's something with The Mandalorian I can't put my finger on. But The Mandalorian feels like Star Wars. And then, in retrospect, I compare it to the movies, and I'm like, I fought against I disagreed with people that said, oh, it's not Star Wars, it's Disney, da-da-da-da. But now I kind of see it.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is about The Mandalorian. It's shot different. Everything is different, but there's something inherently Star Wars about it that the movies aren't.
There is a love and respect for whatever that intangible something is that makes Star Wars Star Wars. And I don't feel like, and look, I don't hate Force Awakens at all. I enjoy it. It's a fun, great movie, but there's no denying that at this point I look at it and I think, why wasn't this something entirely different and better?
Yeah. And, part of it may be Filoni. They should have given it to him. I think we would have had a very different trilogy if Filoni had been at the helm.
We probably would have had the Thrawn trilogy if Filoni had been at the helm.
It would probably would have been it would have been Hera and Thrawn.
That would have been A-okay.
Yep.
Let's get back to the toys, though.
Yeah.
We got our initial waves. Surprisingly, the Jabba's Throne Room Vintage Collection, I'm not going to call it a playset because it's not, but it's a diorama. It's something that you can put your Jabba and Jabba's palace characters in front of. That thing supposedly was released months and months ago. It's been on eBay for almost a year, but now all of a sudden it's in all the Walmarts. And I found it a week or so before Triple Force Friday, and it didn't ring up in the system, as though it was date locked. But I talked and was nice, and ended up they sold it to me. But now you can walk into just about any Walmart and buy that and the Jabba's skiff that complements the sail barge, because it's the same deco, the same colors. It matches that sail barge. If you have the sail barge and you don't have this skiff, you're missing a piece of that toy.
Come on, you've already paid $500.
Right, seriously. Shell out the $40 for the skiff. Come on, you can sell. I've said this many times. I got $250 for that fucking yak face.
That is insane.
You can absolutely sell that yak face, buy the regular vintage collection yak face that's identical except for the little cup that it doesn't come with, and the coin, and who gives a shit about the coin? I've in my 43 years of life, I have thrown more Star Wars related coins in the trash. But yeah, and none of them was worth $250. All of them weren't worth $250.
Wow.
But yeah, get the skiff. The skiff is great. The only problem I have with the skiff is, if you remember the last skiff that they released that came with that sort of Pit of Carcoon type set, it has foot pegs. The new skiff has no foot pegs at all.
Oh, so you can't balance them on the...
Yeah, I don't know why they... I mean, at this point, it seems that Hasbro is almost trying to make the... Because if you remember, Star Wars, in addition to the long history of toys, also has a long history of model kits. And fans that were a little more dedicated could buy these model kits that had more fine detail, that were more in scale, and that if you're willing to put in the time, you could paint to really look like what was on screen in the movie. And to me, the more recent Hasbro releases, the sail barge, this skiff, that the hover tank from Rogue One, the Pose X-Wing, even the that vintage collection TIE Fighter that was Walmart exclusive, all of these things, the fine detail and the paint, to me, look like those models that you would see back in the day that were like, wow, that looks straight out of the movie, but I don't have the patience to do that. And I think that's kind of what Hasbro's going for, is eliminating some of the more toyetic aspects to try and really deliver almost a miniature prop replica.
Well, but I mean, really, are kids buying Pose X-Wing anymore?
No, they're not. No kid is spending $100 on Pose X-Wing, which, by the way, I did not spend that on it. I think Amazon had it for $20 off the first day or whatever.
Nice.
But these are, these vintage collection toys are fantastic, but we're not getting the high quality Black Series figures to go with them.
Yeah. So, is the Black Series, the 3/4 Black Series, over?
It's done. Here's the crazy thing. The only 3 3/4 inch now, aside from those gold pieces of shit, is the vintage collection. They have also discontinued that 3 3/4 inch basic line.
Oh, there's a little $9.
The 5 points
ones?
of articulation.
Yeah.
They were like $7.99 previously, and then they launched the first Galaxy of Adventure ones in the tubes, and those bombed because people weren't going to pay $10 for 5 points of articulation Star Wars figures. And then they relaunched Galaxy of Adventure as these new super articulated figures that they're basically like the Disney toy box figures, but they're fantastic. They're great figures, but I'm not starting another collection. But they have that sort of animation looking style.
Yeah, I always look at them and I'm like, man, those are really cool. And I have nowhere to put those that fits in with anything.
No, and also you have no idea. Like when they do a Boba Fett, I'll buy a Boba Fett.
Yeah.
I'll pick up specific characters, but I'm not starting a new collection because you have no idea what characters they're going to do, how long they're going to support the line. Will they ever do vehicles? Like at this point, you can't get invested into anything new because Hasbro has such a bad history of supporting things.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this second wave of Black Series figures that includes the Yavin Ceremony Luke, Wedge Antilles, Cara Dune, the Sith Trooper again, the Jet Trooper, Janna, and then Rey and D-O again, and D-O again, because obviously we can't get enough of that.
Yeah. So do you have Cara Dune yet?
I do.
God, that's a nice figure.
She looks phenomenal. She looks exactly like, and oh my gosh, what is the actress's name? I can't remember now.
I can't remember.
The MMA / action star / stunt woman who I'm very fond of her. She was in a movie a few years ago that I really liked, and it did a very good job of highlighting her talents and masking her less skilled aspects.
Gina Carano.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's a badass, and I can't wait to see her on the show.
God, it's nice. And, we were talking about the face printing earlier. The Rebel insignia on her face, I mean, I don't even know measurement-wise how big that thing is, but it's nothing more than a speck.
Yeah, it looks almost just like a mole.
But if you look closely at it, it is a well-defined rebellion.
Is it? Okay, so...
Oh, yeah, look really, really close, get a magnifying glass out.
This is my first public admission that I now own a pair of reading glasses.
Yeah, get your readers out, your cheaters.
Yeah, I'm getting them out now. I'm going to perch them on the end of my nose and take a look. Oh, my gosh, that's insane. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, isn't that nuts? My biggest thing about this figure, though, and I just don't understand.
And you're right. You're 100% right about this.
She doesn't have a knife holder.
A vibro blade holder.
A vibro blade holder. Oh, well, we'll talk about that in the Mando.
Right.
Vibro blades. But, yeah, usually Black Series is really good about holsters or having ways to store things. And I was shocked she does not have a sheath.
Well, here's the possible answer to that, though, is if in the context of, because like I said, for the listeners, we're a couple weeks behind. We're only up to episode 3, so we haven't even seen her in the show yet. So if in the context of the show she produces that vibroblade out of nowhere.
Oh, gotcha. Or if it's not even hers. That makes sense.
Right, yeah. So we don't know yet that, yeah, that's a good point, too. It may not even be hers.
Yeah, she may take it.
Yeah,
so that's good.
We'll see. That may be just kind of a little bonus accessory.
Yeah. Who else? I was really excited about Wedge.
I'm not, only because I have some guidelines for what I collect in the Black Series. I'm not buying any pilots because we'll never have vehicles to go with them.
Yeah, well, and see, Wedge again goes back to he's a main character in the Aftermath trilogy. He's a main character in Resistance Reborn. He's really heavily in the new books. Well, and so I'm excited about Wedge again.
I've already got 2. I've got Pilot Wedge, and I've got regular clothes Wedge from the 3 3/4 inch line. So, I'm good on Wedge. He's one of my favorites, but I've got all the figures I need of him.
And then who else did they've announced Anakin and Obi-Wan, which we talked about, and then Ori Bliss. She looks awesome. But then the Knight of Ren.
Which is the same Knight of Ren that's in the vintage collection that I've got sitting right next to me here that comes with the Force Pike.
So, the Knight of Ren. Just the Knight of Rens in general. I am very hesitant about them. I get the feeling we're going to get burned on the Knight of Ren. They're going to show up for one scene because they were yeah, we should have shown these in The Last Jedi, and then they're going to murder them real fast, and that's going to be the end of them. Well, just because JJ's we had to bring them.
I didn't even know until recently the whole story with that, and I guess they've expanded upon it in the books or whatever, that Kylo Ren or Ben Skywalker found them, and they're actually an old pre-existing order, and he took his name from them.
Yes. So
they weren't like his disciples or something, which is what I had previously thought.
Well, because here's the weird thing. So I have not read the comic yet, because I do Marvel Unlimited, so I'm 6 months behind.
Oh, right.
But what's weird about it is Luke in Force Awakens, or I guess it's in Last Jedi, makes a comment. He went with some of my former students.
Right.
He says it.
Right.
And so that means that before Ben turned, he had some other people that left and went and turned to the dark side too.
And what happened to them?
Yeah, so maybe that was a red flag there, Luke, that your school's kind of shitty. Like, why don't you get it together? But yeah, I'm curious to read that. Like, that's one I've considered actually paying for the comics to read it before it comes out, so I kind of know. But yeah, that's weird. But I am thinking the Knights of Ren are not going to be in that movie very much.
I think anybody hoping for a big presence there is going to be let down.
Yeah.
So some of the other exclusives that we've gotten, we mentioned the Heavy Infantry Mandalorian, which is on the way now and officially releases on November 29th. Jedi Luke, which you mentioned, is that a Walmart? No, that's not Walmart. What is that?
I don't know. I found it at Walmart.
Oh, okay. So it's a Walmart exclusive then.
I think it is.
Which makes sense because they also have a Galaxy of Adventures Jedi Luke that's a Walmart exclusive.
Yeah, it looks good. You know, it's a good Jedi Luke. And then that Yoda, they did the Force Ghost Yoda, which is less Force Ghost and more like stripper glitter on your face Yoda. But, you know, I've got the Obi-Wan. I skipped the Yoda.
Well, here's one that got a big reaction from me is the C-3PO and Babu Frick.
Oh, yeah. So I was totally going to skip that one. And then I was at Target when they were putting him on the shelf, and I was like, ooh, that's nice. Go ahead and take that.
I have not seen it in Target yet. I actually managed to order one online.
It's a good figure. I like the little, what's his name? Babu Frick.
I haven't opened it yet, but from what I understand, there's a panel on the back of 3PO's head that comes off.
There is.
Interesting. Very interesting. And then finally, I think this is the last of the Black Series exclusives for now. The Purge Trooper, that I think is the one that came with the game, right?
That stupid Purge Trooper. Okay, so here's the deal with the Purge Trooper.
Okay.
GameStop has put out different information about this Purge Trooper. When I pre-ordered the game, I didn't know about it. If I had known, I could have ordered the Trooper with it. I would have. But in the initial press release or whatever, it said, okay, you can order it with the game. We will also sell it exclusively. And then GameStop employees have said that's not the case, and he is not being released.
What?
And that was it.
The Fwoosh reviewed him.
So I think they got him with the game. The person on the Fwoosh did the game package.
See, that was my understanding, was that the Purge Trooper was exclusive with the game, and you had to order the, like, deluxe version of the game to get that, and that was the only way to get it. That's what I thought.
Well, and that's the confusion, because that's been said, and GameStop has also said they're also just going to sell him. I wish I know, because he's a really nice figure and a big part of the game, and I really want it. But it's looking like every GameStop I talked to is like, yeah, we're not getting any more of those.
Wow.
And it was only like a $20 add-on with the deluxe version, so I totally would have won if I would have known. And he's selling on the secondary for way too much, so that is one I will miss.
Oh, that sucks, and it is a great-looking figure. Well, I'm kind of a sucker for any of the black stormtroopers.
Yeah.
But this one it's black with some red piping, and then like the soft goods skirt or battle kilt or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm. I forgot, what weapon does he come with?
He comes with two. He comes with the long rifle and then the typical stormtrooper rifle, which, from what I understand, is not necessarily accurate to the game.
It is not.
The review, I think it was the Fwoosh review that I read that said he should have some melee weapons. Yeah,
most of the time in the game, he either has like one of those big vibro staffs, like the Grievous's little guys had,
right.
Or he's got two handheld ones, or he's got a heavy rifle.
Okay, yeah, but still great looking figure, and you know what? In some way, shape, or form, a version of that figure will make its way out.
I hope so.
It'll happen. Hasbro, very rarely do they do an exclusive like that you just don't ever see again.
Yeah, I'm assuming GameStop will get flooded with them eventually.
And we mentioned coming soon, Kit Fisto, Plo Koon, Count Dooku, which I am 100% in on Count Dooku. Attack of the Clones, Anakin and Obi-Wan. a Geonosis battle droid, which is just a repaint of the already released battle droid, a Knight of Ren and Zori Bliss. It's cool. I like... Disney has, for the most part, disavowed the prequels up until recently, and now we're starting to see prequel product come out. And I think it's smart because, our kids grew up with the prequels.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have that disdain for them that the internet has. And honestly, I don't have... Look, I think Attack of the Clones is absolutely horrible, but that doesn't mean I don't want cool toys from it.
Oh, absolutely. And recently that Obi-Wan and the Clone Wars armor came out.
Yeah.
That is an amazing figure. It's one of my favorite Black Series figures they've ever done.
Well, and actually I'm glad you mentioned that because that's Walgreens exclusive, right?
Yeah.
So that one came out, and then we also, I think it was just before Triple Force Friday, the Emperor with the Throne.
Yeah, I'm kicking myself for skipping that one.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
It's got to be still available, though, right? Amazon,
it is.
Okay, yeah, Amazon exclusives usually sit around for a long time.
But again, I hate double dipping in the Black Series.
Dude, it looks so good, though.
The faces are so much better than that initial release. I played with Jay's.
Well, and just to have the throne.
Yeah, I'll probably go back and get it, because I've got tons of Royal Guards and...
Well, yeah, that's another crazy thing, is I bought in anticipation of having that Emperor, because I had already pre-ordered it. I bought 2 Royal Guards. I think they were like $15, so I went ahead and ordered 2 of them. But now you can buy that entire set for like $50, I think. Like the whole wave that those Royal Guards were part of.
Nice.
Is on Entertainment Earth for like $50.
Yeah, I think I bought a couple of red ones, and then I got that. I think it was an Entertainment Earth exclusive where they did like a pack of Royal Guards, and it was like was red and black and blue.
No, that was GameStop.
Was it GameStop?
Yeah, it was GameStop.
I got that thing.
I
got it on discount.
It was almost like one of those old Evolution packs that they did with the 3 3/4-inch figures, which are some of my favorite sets ever.
Oh yeah, that Black Royal Guard is awesome.
So let's see here. Looking at Vintage Collection, I think we've pretty much covered everything there. The Amazon exclusive for the Vintage Collection was the Sith Trooper with like 5 different weapons, which I didn't bother ordering because it was way overpriced.
And Amazon just did the Chewbacca C-3PO set.
Which I also have pre-ordered.
Yeah, I skipped that one too.
I love, one of my favorite toys when I was a kid was that C-3PO that you could take apart.
Oh, yeah, it was one of my favorites, too.
I loved it. And to have... Because, the Chewbacca that went with that... Or I guess C-3PO came with the cargo net. Mm-hmm. But, it never really looked right on the Chewbacca figure. You could put it over his arms, but it was all big and bulky. So to have, an accurate recreation of Chewbacca with disassembled 3PO on his back... I gotta have it, man. That's too cool. And the Chewbacca looks different.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
That cargo net when I was a kid, that was one of the few things I never lost. I always had that net. And I don't know why I kept up with that thing so good, but it was important to me. I knew where the net was in my Star Wars collection.
I think I just left it on Chewbacca all the time. Sometimes I'd put weapons and stuff in it. He'd just carry stuff for people.
Mm-hmm.
That was a thing. So let's see, Vintage Collection coming soon. Remnant Stormtrooper, which is actually very cool because it's the dirtier Stormtroopers that are in The Mandalorian.
Oh, nice.
Cara Dune, The Mandalorian, which is crazy because we get this Mandalorian ATST that I've already got over here that I haven't opened up yet. We're going to be doing one of the unboxing episodes very soon with that. But we get this Mandalorian ATST that we haven't even seen on the show yet, but we do not yet have a figure of the Mandalorian in this scale. And then they're doing a bunch of reissues, which is what is really killing my interest in the Vintage Collection. They're re-releasing the 3PO with the removable plating, General Calrissian with that terrible cape. The clasp is just like a giant blue piece of elastic. Dagobah Luke in the full fatigues, not the tank top one. And he actually looks pretty good, and I do need a new Dagobah Luke. Hoth Han from the beginning of Empire when he's up on the Falcon doing the repairs with Chewbacca.
Mm-hmm.
Clone Wars Anakin, which is actually very cool because I don't believe they've done that in this scale before. They're reissuing Wicket, and he includes his movie hood and his cartoon hood.
Oh, that's nice.
And then a Darth Maul that I think looks terrible because the combination of soft goods and plastic just doesn't look great. And then a Clone Wars Obi-Wan, which they have done, but not this version. I've got a Clone Wars Obi-Wan, but it's not. It doesn't look like the cartoon. It's almost like it's a concept figure because he's got full Clone Trooper armor on with his robe on over it. It's not like his look from the Clone Wars cartoon, which is what this figure is. Yeah, I've actually got a 3 3/4 inch and one of the sideshow figures of that look. That's just basically Obi-Wan's head on a Clone Trooper body with his Jedi robes. But that's not what he looked like in the cartoon. It was much more subdued than that. But it's those are cool different things. But the vintage collection, I feel like Hasbro's killing it a little bit at a time by just constantly re-releasing these figures that we got on clearance at Walmart a couple years ago for $3.
So overall, Force Friday, it seemed kind of subdued though. Like I was thinking back to the Phantom Menace release when it was like these insane lines at midnight, and this one just seemed kind of. I mean, it was dead. There was maybe 8 people at the Target I was at.
It was, it's difficult now to build up excitement for anything because there's so much stuff out there. Retailers don't care anymore. There are no specialized retailers that are going to open up at midnight for this kind of thing. Walmart doesn't even bother putting the stuff out half the time. You just can't. Walmart has killed American toys to the extent that nothing matters.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. So it's hard to get any kind of hype going for this. But, for me personally, I got excited about a few things. I was really excited. Like I said, getting Poe Dameron's X-Wing, which still hasn't seen wide distribution. You can get it from Amazon. Barnes & Noble stores carried it, but I have not yet seen it in Walmart or Target.
No.
But there were enough things I was excited for initially to get me to sort of do some running around after work. And like we said at the beginning, since then, they've peppered enough new stuff to keep it kind of exciting and to make some of the stuff that came out on October 4th seem a little more interesting.
Now, have you probably didn't buy it, but have you seen this Target Black Series mystery box?
I didn't buy it, but I'm aware of it. What's in it again?
So, I keep looking at it. I'm really hoping that that's going to be the ones that they clearance.
Right.
Because what it is, it's got a beanie cap with the Star Wars logo on it. It's got a Marvel comic. It's got a First Order metal pin. But what it does have is an exclusive First Order Stormtrooper or Snowtrooper Black Series figure.
Yeah, okay.
And it's got a cape. It's a really cool figure. But I'm not going to pay the $40 for the mystery box because I don't want that other garbage.
Right.
So I'm hoping that's one that they discount eventually.
Well, every Target I go to has 6 of them.
Yeah, but I say that about that stupid Moloch Kronos figure.
Right.
And they finally have discounted it to $14.99 this week.
$15.
It took this long. I look at that thing every time I go to Target for the past, 2 years, and I'm like, surely this will be the day it drops down. And then it finally was, and I went, I don't even care anymore. It just kept walking.
So before we wrap up, one thing I wanted to mention. Okay, you mentioned Jon Favreau earlier and how he had kind of put an embargo on Hasbro releasing certain of these characters. I thought you were going to mention that Jon Favreau voiced the heavy infantry Mandalorian, who is named in the credits as Paz Vizsla.
Oh, I don't know if I realized that he was that one.
Yes, the physical actor is actually an MMA fighter, but Jon Favreau voices the character, who is an ancestor, or not an ancestor, a descendant of Pre Vizsla.
Huh.
And in that third episode, these are two little bits of trivia I wanted to mention, see if you knew anything about. I think I'm wrong, but in the scene when the Mandalorian has his full Beskar, he goes back to talk to Grief, and they're in that sort of cantina-type place. There's a character that looks an awful lot like Constable Zuvio that turns around and says, "Ichuda."
I'm not sure if it's him or not. I thought it might be.
I don't think it is, but it sure did look like him.
Oh, God, I would hope it is. Constable Zuvio can finally have his day.
And that figure will skyrocket in price because nobody bought it.
There is still one here in town on the shelves for sale. And I look at it every time. I'm like, hang in there, buddy. Somebody's going to buy you one day.
I still see him in Walgreens from time to time.
Yeah, it's a Walgreens. It's definitely a Walgreens.
But yeah, I just thought that was really funny. I don't, thinking back on it, I don't think it was him because it actually looked more like Bausch with Constable Zuvio's hat on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
So to sort of wrap up here, we've got one more toy that kind of has gone under the radar, and I think it's because it's something a little bizarre. It's high dollar. It doesn't fit with anything. And that is the Hyper-Real Darth Vader, which is the initial product from a new range that Hasbro is testing out. I haven't even seen one of these in person, but you got to handle one.
Yeah, so I was at a GameStop, and it was on... it was when I went to pick up Fallen Order, I think. And they had one in the box, and they had one they had opened to let people mess with it. And
was it one of those like concept game stops where they're half toys and half video games?
Yep.
That makes sense.
I mean, what I'll say about it, one, the scale sucks. I mean, it's 8 inches.
Goes with nothing.
It goes with nothing. And the guy was trying to sell it to me because it was like 20% off. Because they did all their Star Wars toys 20% off that day. And it just, and I told him, I was like, it doesn't fit with anything I have. The armature on it, so it's built on this like metal skeleton that's kind of bendy. And so the articulation you could get with it was really cool. But I mean, it honestly kind of felt cheap. It was not Mezco quality at all. Like,
what was
not
it?
even close.
What was it weight wise?
It was not as heavy as I thought it was going to be. It was pretty light. The material for like his under, whatever you want to call it, the kind of leathery part, that was good. The plastic though kind of looks and feels cheap.
Huh.
And the head's too big. And I know the head is really big in A New Hope, but it just doesn't feel right. And then a funny follow-up. So when I first saw it in the store before that, they had one in like, in GameStop they have the middle of the store kind of displays, and then the top of it sometimes will be a glass enclosure.
Oh, like the statues and stuff?
Yeah. So it was in there for a while, and then today I went into GameStop and it was on the floor underneath all the other toys.
What?
And I was like, yeah, they know nobody's buying this thing.
Wow.
So, I mean, if it drops in a bunch of money, like if they clearance it, I could see buying it.
Sure.
If it was 6 inches, I would maybe buy it. But it just does not fit in with anything. And I don't know. It comes with a bunch of hands and lightsabers and stuff, but for $80, like, I want an Anakin head. I want all of it.
Yeah. For $80, well, you know what? I'll be honest. At that scale, I'm not paying $80 for anything in that scale because, like we've been saying, it goes with nothing.
It goes with nothing.
For $80, I want Mezco scale.
Uh-huh.
I want multiple hands. I want a lightsaber hilt. I want an ignited lightsaber. I want a magnet on his belt to put that hilt on. I want the full 3-piece helmet and the unmasked Anakin head. Like, you got to do it up for that amount of money.
Yeah, I will be shocked if that Luke actually comes out.
I feel the same way, because all they've shown is, what is it called? They haven't even shown a prototype. All they've shown is whatever the computer-generated stuff is.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to come out.
I don't either.
Which, I mean, I get Hasbro, they don't want to compete with the Black Series as far as 6-inch goes.
Right.
But it's a huge misfire.
I agree. And you know what, though? I'll give Hasbro credit just, with Galaxy of Adventures, with the little tiny squishy things, like, good for them for trying new stuff, but I hate it because I feel like it's to the detriment of the classic 3 3/4 inch figures. Like, don't let that line sag while you're pursuing these other new markets, because you're losing your core collectors that you've had for 4 decades now.
Right.
Do whatever you want in every other scale you want, but make sure that 3 3/4 inch line is always has the best character selection, always has the best, you don't need the best wedge ever released in 6-inch scale, because you're never going to have an X-Wing to put him in. But
maybe one day.
That's not going to happen. Oh, yeah, actually, here's a little tidbit that may still be relevant when this posts. Entertainment Earth is selling the Black Series Dewback for $15.
Oh, are they?
Yep.
Awesome. I'm going to order that right now. I've been waiting for that one to drop in price. I keep checking Amazon, but I didn't check Entertainment Earth.
Yeah, Entertainment Earth. It may not be now. It may not be until whenever their Black Friday starts, but it is this week. They'll be selling it for $14.99. It's on their front page right now.
Dewback. Where is that thing?
So to wrap this thing up, if you got any final thoughts about Star Wars, any last little bits you want to get out before we get deeper into stuff later this month?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing with Star Wars, it's very odd that I'm excited about a whole lot of things in Star Wars. I mean, video games, books, toys. I think right now I am more invested in doing more stuff with Star Wars than I've done in a while. And none of it is about that movie.
Well, and also, none of it has really been hyped all that well. If you look back at Shadows of the Empire, that was a huge event, almost on the level of a new movie coming out, and everybody, Lucasfilm and Hasbro, or Kenner, I can't remember if it was Kenner or Hasbro at the time, but they hyped the shit out of it. It was a massive deal. The book, the video game, the toys, and I feel like that got so much more hype than any of these things have gotten.
Yeah,
it's almost like Disney is sitting back and letting the internet do their advertising for them, like sites like IO9 and Bleeding Cool and whatever. It's just really weird, this stuff that's some of the best Star Wars we've gotten in a while, but really hasn't been hyped all that much.
Dewback. What's the date today?
Today's the 26th.
Oh, it already sold out.
Are you serious?
It was today. It was the 11/26 doorbuster.
Oh my god!
It's gone. It's back to $50. God, if only it had been earlier.
Well, sorry, listeners, and sorry, Ryan.
Golly, that's all right. My wife won't be as angry when a bit starts out.
So yeah, we've very exciting Star Wars times right now. Stoked for more Mandalorian. Stoked for Rise of Skywalker. Look, I am not as excited for this movie as I thought I would be, but I've got my tickets. I'm going to be there opening night. My expectations are middling, but my hopes are high.
My expectations are high. I try not to let them get there, but I just, it's the last one. It's gonna, not the last movie, but it's gonna end. Yeah, it's gonna end this story, and I really like the previews I've seen. I trust JJ a little more than the other ones, but who knows?
My faith has been shaken at this point, so
Yeah.
I hope that I am pleasantly surprised.
I agree.
Well, Ryan, thanks for coming on, talking about Star Wars toys and other Star Wars in general. We will absolutely be talking again before the month is over, and I look forward to whenever you guys can get together and record the first episode of, what's it called?
Execute Order 6, or Chapter 66.
Chapter 66.
Yes, we have dates we are planning, so it should be sooner than later.
Excellent. All right, man. Well, I will be talking to you soon.
All right. Thanks, sir.
Later. I admire the encyclopedic nature of that man's mind. He just has a really good brain for detail, and I used to, and I don't anymore because I'm old and falling apart. I hope you enjoyed the Christmassy aspects of this episode. I hope you enjoyed the Star Warsy aspects of this episode. My next week, my original plan had been, hey, I like talking to Mike Gordon, and I like coming up with a topic to talk to Mike Gordon about and making an episode about it, so let's do Christmas. And then we both kind of realized today that we did that on episode 191 of the Needless Things podcast. So we're going to come up with a different spin or different idea for a Christmas-themed thing and figure out something else to do. And the rest of the episodes for the month are already decided. Obviously, we have a Needless Commentary. It's going to be great. We have a very, very special guest for it, who is a first-timer in the Phantom Zone. And I always like seeing people's first reactions to what it is down here. The toy museum, I guess, that I live in when I do these things. But nobody will ever top our pal Dana's initial reaction. This is fucking bonkers. Best reaction to this ever. Although, there's no it's bigger on the outside. I mean, bigger on the outside, bigger on the inside. There's no it's bigger on the inside. There's no standard reaction, but there always is something at the sight of this place, and I appreciate that. But not as much as I appreciate you guys who are sharing, rating, listening, and loving. I love you guys.
Thank you for listening to the Needless Things podcast. You're the best. You can find the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Downcast, or in the ears of a Trader Vic's employee. Love you. Mean it. Uh-huh.